Welcome back to Learning in Real Time. I'm Melissa, and I have this topic that I've been thinking about since last week that's been on my mind, that I've sort of been struggling with, trying to figure it out. Because it's not necessarily a lack of understanding that I have towards it. It's more, I do understand it. I do understand what my mind's doing, why I'm thinking the way I'm thinking, why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling, and how it's feel like I'm being pulled in different directions. And yet I understand why it is that I'm feeling this way. And yet, even with that understanding, it's not a question of, do I understand this or not? It's, why is understanding not helping? Why, when I understand what's going on, it's not helping me? And that's what I've been trying to work through with this podcast. Not work through, but just explain and explore. And that's why the learning in real time is understanding and learning, and how gaining that understanding, learning these things is helping. And yet, when you have understanding, sometimes it doesn't always help. Sometimes we tend to believe, hey, if I can understand this, if I can explain it, then I can move forward. Then I can grow from this. Then I can learn because I understand it now. So now I'm moving forward for it, or with it, I mean. So with that, I have understanding. I have understanding of what it is I'm struggling with. So I have these different things and these different areas of my life that I want to accomplish, these different things I want to do. And I've explained that to here on the podcast too, earlier on in some of the first episodes, of all these things that I'm trying to work towards. And the podcast was one of them, and that I was excited for. And I'm glad I took that first step in doing this. And now I'm on episode 7, that it's been 7 episodes now. And I'm really proud of myself for continuing to do that. But I have all of these things, all these many things that I want to do and I want to accomplish. And yet I know why I have each of them. I know that, okay, with my photography, with my book, with the podcast, those are all things that I enjoy doing, that are for me, that I like doing and accomplishing and creating. It's an expression of myself. And then I have the business course that I want to do. And that's creating meaning for others, for not just meaning for them, but trying to reach out and help businesses, small businesses. And then, okay, after that is, well, not after that, but as well as that, I have the school that I want to create for my kids. That, okay, once they reach junior high and high school, this is the school that I want to create for them. And this is the new version of the school that I want to create for my kids. So it's for my kids. It's for them. And same with homemaking as well. Not only for my kids, but also for the values that I have and what I want to do as far as how I want to do things with, I want to have homemade meals, and not just meals, but snacks, and limit the amount of processed food that my kids have. And that's a value that I have. And it's also for my family and for my kids. And then this AI system that I want to create, it's for the future. It's for, okay, we're moving towards AI. And I want to move along with that. And I want to learn how to do these things. And so right now it might not be beneficial to, create this, even though, okay, I want to create this system. I want to be able to sell it. So there's monetization there. But it's also, I don't know if monetization is a word, but being able to monetize that into, okay, in the future, this is going to help me. So I have these things, and I understand why they're there. They all have meaning in different parts of my life. And yet that understanding doesn't always help me. And I can explain that as, I have these things I'm holding. And yet, okay, I cannot do this and this and this. Trying to do all of them at the same time has caused me so much internal conflict. To say, I can't do all of these at the same time. I want to do all of them at the same time. And that's the problem, is people are like, oh, it's not, in the season of your life right now, you can't do that. It's just the season of life that you're in. Or just pick one thing and do that one thing. And then just forget about everything else. But the problem that I found with that is, when I try to just pick one thing, the other things that are important to me for different and various reasons and different parts of my life, they don't just quiet down and say, okay, just work on this one thing and, we'll slowly go away. They're nagging and nagging and nagging me in the back of my mind. Hey, you haven't written me yet. You haven't written anything in your book yet. Or, hey, you started this business course. You just have, this, and this to do. Let's work on that. But then also, hey, the, photography season's coming. Or, I don't know. For me, it is. It's still, there is seasons, but it's springtime. People are thinking about, taking pictures and of their family, of individuals and everything. That's coming. Let's, continue on this and let's start that up again and to do that because you like taking pictures of people. You enjoy doing that. So let's do that and let's keep going towards that. So then it's not just pick one thing and forget about everything else. Or it's not the season of your life, so just don't worry about any of this because all of it just feels so important in my life and all integrated as parts of who I am. That I have me, who I am as an individual, and then I have me as a mother. I have me as a spouse. I have me as a member of a community. There's different parts of me, and all of these different ideas and things I'm excited about and things I'm passionate about fit all of these different parts of me. So in trying to understand the different parts and trying to understand how all this works together, because when I work towards something, I can't just pick one thing, or I can't just say, just forget about it right now. Focus on being a mom because you have little kids. And, other things will work out in time. And I do believe that. I do believe things will work out in time. And I do believe that pursuing things, and if it's not immediate, eventually will work out. But at the same time, I feel all these are important. And I get a lot of anxiety or not even anxiety. I just get a lot of internal conflict and internal grief when I don't keep continuing to work on some of these things. So there's a thing called goal interference where it's you choose one thing or you work towards one goal and that directly limits your ability to work towards another goal because they share time, attention, energy. All of these goals do. And it's, for example, if I'm working on my book, I am not working on my business course. Or if I'm working on photography and spending time in that, then I am not working on the school that I want to create for my kids. So it's working towards working towards one goal directly limits my ability to work on another goal. So that's the goal interference, which creates progress in one area and yet non-progress in another area. And then there's the idea of trade-off, which is also an accounting term in business, but it's also in psychology where you have the trade-off of, which is, I guess, similar to goal interference, but it's that every choice that you make, there's something that you're doing and there's something that you're not doing. And it's not necessarily neutral. These are things that matter to me, that stay active in my mind, that don't go away. So it's when I choose this thing, or it's not that I choose this thing, but it's I choose this thing, but I also feel everything else I didn't choose. So I make the choice of choosing it, and yet I still feel all of the other areas of my life that I didn't choose. And that's what's frustrating to me and that's where the mental capacity and mental ability comes in. And then at the same time of all of these different things and all of these different projects and ideas and things I want to grow and move towards, I have all this in my mind. And yet, at the same time, and still, it seems like every week or, every few weeks or even every, day or whatever it is, there's expanding. Where it's not just the same thing sitting there week after week, month after month, but there comes in, okay, now there's new ideas, new direction, new things that feel important to me that then come. So I'm not just dealing with, okay, I have all these things, but now, oh, look at this new idea. Now that's come. And this is immediate and important because it fulfills this part of my life. This area of my life that is important to me, as all areas are and should be, but this is important now. I need to figure this out now. And this also needs to go with everything else in my mind. And I need to hold all of this. So if things aren't being replaced, Things aren't saying, okay, you finish this. Oh, now here's a new idea. No, things are being added over and over and over again. And then it's not just I'm holding a lot of things. No, I'm holding a growing number of things in my mind constantly. So then I had the internal experience. Nothing becomes fully resolved. Nothing gets completed fully. New things keep and continuing to become active. And then instead of pressure stabilizing, pressure just keeps building. So instead of these new ideas becoming, oh, I can do this later, it becomes, no, this is immediate. I need to do this now because it is important to me. Like last week, I started thinking about school and my daughter's in 4th grade. And, for junior high, she wants to go to a new junior high for 7th grade. And so it's like, okay, now I have 2 years to figure out this entire school that I want to do. And then it's crazy because it's like, okay, yeah, there are other options for schools. There are other things I can look around and do, but I want to have this for my kid. I want to have this for her. I had this idea of what I want in a school. So then I think there isn't a school perfectly out there that will meet all of these criteria that I want for her and for the rest of my kids. But then I need to create this now because it isn't out there for her or for my kids. But for her in a couple years, now it's like, hey, there's a deadline now. I need to start now because this is going to take a while and take a process to do. So then it becomes active immediately, this new idea, because it has a deadline on it. And other ideas, it's like, oh, well, I need to not be behind, or I like this and I enjoy it and I want to continue to do this and not stop doing that. So you have goal interference, which is where you can't move everything at once. And then you have the trade-off, which is where every action leaves something behind. And then you have the expansion of new things continue to keep being added onto all of this. So the result of all of this is a constant pull and pressure and awareness of what's not being done and what I'm not doing. So then it's, okay, why doesn't understanding resolve it? Why? Okay, I understand this. I understand how it works. But it explains why it happens, but understanding doesn't solve, hey, I understand this now. Now let's just, move on. Because there's a block. There's a block in understanding and knowing how to move forward. Because it doesn't change the amount of things I have that I want to do. It doesn't change the time and energy that I have to do them. And it also doesn't change that they each compete with each other. They're all different areas. They're all different things that don't necessarily align with each other or build off of each other because they're so separate in not only areas of my life and parts of me, but in what they even are specifically. So inside, I continue to feel like things aren't changing, that I continue to feel this way, and that I am taking action, I am making decisions, I am moving forward, and yet every motion forward feels like a loss because it gives up on something else or puts it on hold. So the problem isn't a lack of clarity or a lack of movement forward or a lack of effort on my part. Understanding doesn't remove any of those things. And the hardest part is I feel like I should be able to, not even should, but I want to be able to do all these things. I want to be able to accomplish all these goals that I have. And not just accomplish them, but I want to be able to handle it, have the capacity to stretch myself in all these ways. And yet the reality is when I have so many competing things or so many, they're not even competing, just the things that are there that mean a lot to me that all exist at the same time, that can't all be done at the same time. So then it's now what? Now what do I do? Where I have the understanding doesn't lead to change just because the understanding is there. So then it's, how do I move forward? And that's where I get stuck. How do I move forward with all these ideas, with all these things, when it sometimes becomes so overwhelming that I'm like, I don't want to do anything. Nothing interests me anymore. I don't want to try to do one thing because I can't do it all. Because I can't do everything I want to do. I just want to sit back and say nothing. Forget it then. I won't do it. I won't do anything because I can't do everything. It's an all or nothing kind of thing. It feels like sometimes because of that trade-off or the goal interference to say, I have to give up something in order to do this thing when I don't want to. I don't want to have to give up anything that I want to do. So then it's, now what do I do? How do I solve this? How do I, there's the understanding of not only understand what each part are, or what each part is and what they mean, but then I understand how they give up on it, or you give up on one, or, choose one thing, and so the other thing gets left behind. So then there's that understanding. But then it's, now what happens when the understanding doesn't translate to action and movement? So I've been trying to think through things on how I can move forward and what this means. And one thing I've noticed is that I mentally focus on all of these things all at once. So I'm doing something, and then it's in my mind, like I was saying earlier, it's, hey, you didn't write in me today, or you didn't write, this passage that you wanted to in your book. Or, hey, you didn't send this email for a pitch for your UGC videos that you're doing. You didn't send an email today. You need to send some emails today to be able to get a contract for your UGC videos. Or, hey, you didn't post this thing for your pictures that, you wanted. And right now you're just focusing on your business course. And you're writing all this, but you're neglecting me, and you're neglecting me, and you're neglecting this. So mentally, it's even when I'm doing something moving forward, even when I'm taking that first step, like I said before, I'm taking the first step. I'm moving towards my goals. Yet there's all of them. And even when I do take that first step, even when I am progressing in it, like with my podcast, it's like I'm editing these videos, or I'm trying to figure out how to say all of it, or whatever it is, and I'm moving forward with it. It still doesn't feel like enough, because it's still those little mentally, ideas and words and thoughts of, you didn't do any of these things yet. Why are you working on this one and not me? When have a creative outlet and do this, or work on something that you can maybe monetize. And what you're doing now, isn't important as this. And yet they all are important. And so it got me to think, hey, maybe I don't, or I shouldn't hold all of these things mentally in my mind constantly and continually. To say, hey, I am working on this one thing right now. And I'm not eliminating all the other things. I'm not holding on to the thought and idea of my book today while I'm working on this. So yes, my book is important, but right now, in this moment, it's not important, because I'm working on this thing that is also important. So mental note, and even it's not even mental note, because I can't keep having these mental notes and these mental thoughts and ideas in my mind. That's what's having me struggle, is all these mental things. But maybe it's even that I write it down, and that's where it's the mental, getting all these things out of my head mentally, and all these ideas that keep interrupting, to say, right now I'm focusing on this. Okay, let me write this down. When am I going to focus on my book next? When am I going to do my photography next? When am I going to, send these pitch emails for my UGC? When am I going to work on, all of these things, write them down. And maybe that's it. Just taking them out of my head, putting it down, and making, even a calendar that I use a calendar for everything. Yet at the same time, it's like these ideas and things, it's hard, because it is right now a hard season of life, because I have all my kids, but my son is home. He's gone for preschool only a few days a week and a few hours a day. Then I have to squeeze everything into those few hours. And I think that's also been a struggle, why people would say, it's a season of your life right now, because I don't have all unlimited time. And I don't think anyone has unlimited time either, but it's like, I don't have the time to be able to do some of these things. And yet you have people who work. You have people who work 9-to-5 jobs that are probably thinking the same thing. I don't have time to do all this. I have to do my job. Then I get home, and then I'm tired. I don't want to have to work on this other creative project or other creative idea that I have, because I can't focus, and mentally I can't work on this. And so then they're holding also these same mental ideas and maybe things that they want to create, and passions they have, or outlets they have, or things that they want to build, or whatever it is, that they could think the same thing. I only have a few hours at night in order to do this, because I have to go to work in the morning, or I need to get to bed so I can be on time for work and not feel too tired. So it's the same thing in many areas of a lot of people's lives where they only have a few hours to do these things. So then it's hard because then people are like, oh, well, prioritize it. You need to prioritize this. Which one's your highest priority? And that's where it struggles, because all of these things are priority in all these different areas because they all fulfill different parts and areas of my life. So I feel like, hey, these are all priorities for my life. These are all things that are important to different parts. So then it's hard to say, well, no, work on this because, right now you need money and this is what's going to provide money. Although none of my ideas would provide money right away. So then it's, okay, well, this fulfills this, but then I'm neglecting this part or this fulfills. Anyways, like I've said. So maybe it is just writing down to plan, to say, I can't do all of these things every day. And maybe that's expectations for me to say, I cannot work on all my projects every single day or every 3 days or every 3 days or in the morning and then at night when my kids are asleep. It's, hey, these days I'm going to work on this, this, and this. And then these days I'm going to work on this and this. And then I plan it out to say, I'm not neglecting any parts of myself or any areas or any projects or any passions that I have. It's not being neglected. But right now, maybe I'm just focusing on this. And right now, and this next day, I'm going to focus on this. And then, and maybe it's just a visual to say, hey, here's the planner. I can see exactly that none of the things that I want to do are being neglected. So then it's, my mind can mentally, when I'm doing that thing, say, no, it's on the calendar, you're doing it. Just not right now. And that's okay. Because right now, that's not important. What's important is what you're doing and what you've decided to do today. Because this is going to move you forward in this area. And if all you're doing is continuing to think about things that you're not doing, I'm not going to do as good of a job. I'm going to get frustrated. I'm going to get overwhelmed. I'm going to feel like, hey, I don't have enough time to do it. And then it's the feeling of being stuck of, now I don't want to do anything. Now I can't move forward with any of what I want to do, which leads to my brain needing to be okay with incompleteness. And I've talked to my husband about this and he said he's had a lot of, he says loops. He has a lot of loops or circles. I don't remember exactly how I phrased it, but a lot of loops that are unfinished. So he has a loop open over here, a loop open over here, a loop open, all these loops that are opened and they're not unfinished. And so then that's when your mind keeps going to all these different things. And he had a system that he wanted to start of putting a jar. And I guess it's the same kind of principle of having a jar and you wanted to put sticks in, of saying, hey, this is incomplete. I'm going to write it down, put it in the jar and know that I will get to this eventually. And so it's these loops that aren't finished. Then to say, it's written down, it's okay if I have all these unfinished loops open. And I need to be okay with that if I'm going to try to even move forward. And I don't know if this will work because I haven't done it yet. Like I said, it was last week that I felt so stuck that I was like, I can't even move forward with anything because I can't do it all. And maybe it's I can't do it all at once. So this week, I want to try. My goal for myself this week in recording this podcast and just thinking about it in real time right now as I'm recording, to maybe write it all down, to plan it out, to say, these are the days I'm going to do this. This is the day I'm going to do this. To have it written out, to just get it out of my mind. And I do that a lot. And I'm blubbering, but I do that a lot with my thoughts too. If I have invasive thoughts in my mind, if I have, especially at night, anxiety thoughts, to say, oh, what about this, or worry about this, or looking back on my day to say, oh, I did this wrong, and this wrong, and this wrong. I should have done this different. I should have done this differently. Back to the should haves and should have, you couldn't change what you did anyways. But just sitting down and just writing it all down. Actually, I type it in my phone. Not text it, but type it in my notes app to say, this is what's on my mind right now. And just getting it out of my mind just lets me release it to say, okay, I don't have to continue to think these things because it's written down. And your mind does that. It continues to think these things because it's like, you're going to forget. Didn't you remember what you did today? Oh, nope, I'm going to remind you so you don't forget what you did. So you don't repeat it. You don't do it again. So your mind continually repeats things because it doesn't want you to forget how terrible you were that day or the things you did that weren't great. To say, oh, well, I need to learn from this, so I'm just going to keep remembering. Or I don't know why your brain does it? But then when I write it down, it releases it to say, okay, it's written down now. I don't have to continue to think. And then I'm like, okay, I'll, go back and look at that. But half the time I never do. And it resolves because it's, things that, a lot of it is negative things that aren't helpful. And not that I'm going to learn from them, but it's, hey, I tried my best. I wasn't the best today. I'll try again tomorrow. But let me get these negative thoughts out. Let me get these things written down. And so the mental load is maybe I just need to get them down. Maybe I just need to get them written down. And then be okay with those loops not closed to know I am working on this and it's a work in progress. And this loop's a work in progress. And this loop's a work in progress. This loop isn't going to be resolved for 2 years. This loop, might be resolved in a few weeks. This loop, if I can do it right now, like an email, hey, I might be able to close this loop today. Oh, but guess what? It'll open again because you need to send more emails tomorrow. But at least today it's closed. And there's being okay with the incompleteness of all of the projects that I'm working on. So maybe to think of it as, what does moving forward mean? It's not, am I doing everything right now? Am I doing it all? It's, what does forward look like today? What am I moving forward today? What am I working on today? And being able to say, I'm okay with that. And I think that's where a lot of the internal pressure would come from, or has come from, is not just what I'm doing, but everything I'm holding on to. And like I said earlier, it's not just me and stay-at-home moms that are trying to do this, but I know there's a lot of people, like my husband, has mentioned too, and he works a lot of the time, but people, when you work a lot, or you don't work enough, or you have all these limitations of the same thing, you have all these projects, and maybe you don't do anything, and maybe you're self-employed and you have tons of money, and I doubt those people are listening to my podcast, but maybe you do. Maybe there are people out there that have that, and you have all the time in the world, or you're retired. Maybe you're retired. Maybe someone listening to my podcast is retired, or they are, they stay at home and they're not working. And you have all the time in the world. And yet you still have all these projects that would continually be on your mind that you would still need to not prioritize, just get down and write down, to plan out, to say, mind, it's okay. You don't need to remind me, I can do this. I don't know. I'll work on that this week. And I guess I'll report next week to see if it helped at all. But I would love to hear if any of you have the same thing. If there's a lot of things you're working on, or things that are, and not even things you're working on, but just things that you have understanding for, and yet the understanding hasn't helped you to solve it, or not solve it, but move forward, or not feel stuck, or being able to accomplish what you want to just because you have the understanding. And I guess that's the question, or what I was trying to explore, is when you have that understanding, yet it doesn't always lead to being able to move forward or solve or any of that. So if any of you have the same experiences, I would love to hear any of that, and let me know. So I'm on social media. You can follow me on social media. Comment on there, or send me a message, or, put a comment on this, and I would love to have any conversations with you guys. So I look forward to talking to you next week.